Newsfirst Newsline.
Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Newsline Live. Well, of course, today was a day where travel restrictions in Sri Lanka were relaxed for a certain time period for, of course, the general public to go out and grab their essential goods. But how did the general public really function today? How successful has the laws in Sri Lanka been in aiding and abetting the authorities, to control the spread of this pandemic in the country? And how better can we utilize the laws in Sri Lanka to help in the control of the spread of this pandemic? To discuss these matters and more, we've got with us today Dr. Prathiba Mahanamahewa, the rector of Sri Pali campus of the University of Colombo. A very good evening, Doctor, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Doctor, first question I would like to pose to you is the fact that today was the day, as I said before, where travel restrictions were relaxed and the general public were specifically told under the regulations of the Quarantine Act not to go out in their vehicles, to walk to the closest shop. Was this the situation in Colombo today, where you live? Was this how the public functioned?
Actually, when we are looking this problem, these travel restrictions, we have to see the approach the government had taken. Now, for example, even if they put the travel restriction, that is fair enough to stop, people are gathering, people are moving. But on the other side, we also have a responsibility to act in a very reasonable manner, because this is where a very high risky thing. That's why Professor Tissa Vitarana, he has actually given a statement on that. So dangerous situation is occurring. So, but we are not accepting still this situation. But on the other hand, government, if they try to do this, it's where you have to give the goods and services, that facility. So practically it has not happened. Even today, what happened to me, I went to buy some cuttlefish or certain type of goods. But what happened, the consumer actually suffering with the price they pay, highly exploited. This is where the government must look. The prices of the fish or a vegetable, it has gone double. So who is monitoring that? Now where is the Consumer Affairs Authority? They must look it. So you are talking the restriction. On the other side, consumers are also actually, manipulated. I don't know what they put, and no prices were displayed any other place. So likewise you have to see. So the best thing what we can do, when the travel restriction imposed, there must be some alternatives how to reach that. Now it is very, practically you can't do it. Maybe a different able person or maybe a veteran citizen. How can they carry all these things and come? So there must be some alternative given. Without that, if you specifically say no one can travel, you have to go to your closest place. Now where I live, it is very hard to find a closest place. So everywhere supermarkets are not there. Everywhere, these wholesale or even retail shops are not there.
Doctor, judging by what you said, there is a huge divide between imposing a law or a regulation and enforcing it. We see many regulations being imposed time and time again, as far as the travel restriction goes, as far as how you should shop at these places, as far as how many people can leave the houses. But when it comes to the enforcement, is it possible for this to be done antagonizing the general public, while the general public is against you, while the general public is inherently trying to find loopholes, trying to get around? Is that possible?
Yeah. Now you may have seen in the Facebook, it is very clear people were taking wheelbarrows and going. And police had arrested a person, even the wheelbarrow, he has not used this mask.
Right.
So yes, that is where you have to see how people suffering with this. So therefore, I don't know whether the government may have done a test run with that, but I saw the commander of army also had given, next time when they put the travel restriction, they go for alternative. So that's why we see. But here I have seen big queues, and people are rushing together in the fish market, even in the Manning market. You may have seen that. So proper mechanism we have to set up. But even we can't say 100% with those gathering the COVID-19 may or may not spread. But the people on the other hand, they have to wait in long queues. So how can you practically not stop, I mean support the general public? So there must be some proper planning, and with that only you can do it. But you have to see it in both sides. One side, you know, if this spread, it will go like India. That is one way. On the other side, we also need the economy to roll up, and also we need our day-to-day goods and services to be purchased. So in that way, so they must look proper one. And also I have seen a lot of vehicles are moving in our side, and also Colombo not much, but they are really checking. So we also must have a self-discipline. Whatever the people, those who travel for essential service, okay, you can't go for a trip and other things. So there are some practical difficulties. So what the government and the ministries must do, they must take this as a serious consideration and evaluate the situation, and then this can be a good feasibility study how they move in future.
Doctor, I'd like to divert your attention to another issue that we're currently discussing, of course, among the general public, is the right to information, the right to speech, the right to free speech. There are some obstacles that are at least in the process of being built as far as this goes. We saw many arrests being made for posts that were made on Facebook. Now, I do understand the fact that given the COVID-19 pandemic, the seriousness of this issue, there is a need to streamline the information, not to allow the public to be fearful of this pandemic unnecessarily, or any other matter for that. But arresting people for a post on Facebook, in the 21st century, is this really a progressive step? Is this a futuristic step? Or is this just a short-term kind of one of those laws that just comes into being and then just fades away into oblivion?
Sorry, I think before any arrest, police should conduct investigation. So Facebook is basically for the free speech, freedom of expression, and you can discuss your opinions, and even reasonably you can criticize any policy. It can be a government policy, it can be anything. So these must be done now with a restriction. Now we have seen some misinformation spreading, as well as if a public servant or public employee, including me, if we are giving certain information, we are bound by the code of ethics in our institution, as well as we have to see the administrative regulations, and Ministry of Public Administration, they have given certain regulation. But if I am a layman or normal citizen, whatever I want, I can express. But you have to remember one thing: 1966 Civil and Political Rights Convention, as well as Sri Lanka Constitution, Article 14, 1970, it specifically say it is not an absolute right. This right is not an absolute right, because it can be restricted under public health, even under defamation. Many other restrictions are there. So a person or me, when we posting FB, yes, we have that platform. You can't stop it. Even if you write to FB, their mother company, they may not actually stop that, because you have to go and get a court order, then only then. But India, there are a lot of cases where these type of arrest happen. Some 5 medical students, they were criticizing a minister, thereafter they went to Supreme Court and they won the case. So most of the time you have the freedom of expression, but we have to be very careful in this. Now, you know, these
but Doctor, since you mentioned India on this matter of free speech, recently there was a judgment from the Supreme Court of India that said that you cannot, any state cannot impose any regulations that will bar people from requesting for oxygen or revealing information on the ground situation of the COVID-19 pandemic. On that front, we seem to have made a 180-degree turn, because in Sri Lanka, the Ministry of Health has issued guidelines or a circular mandating that any health professional who is expressing views to the public on media or social media or whatever gets the permission of the ministry, thereby restricting the access to the information that the general public have.
Yeah, now this is basically government medical officers. They are bound by their ethics as well as their code of conduct. So therefore, when they are expressing something, this is where people believe them 100%. As a professional person, I have a duty of care, and all the professionals having a duty of care. If you breach that duty of care, you are actually making certain negligent statements. So I don't believe these medical professionals are making negligent statements. Yeah, but they make statements. So whatever the statement they take, they must take the responsibility. So you must be 100%. Otherwise, this type of, now I'll give some example. In United States, we have seen some 9 cases there. You know, this long tongue and also this type of fungus, black fungus is coming up. So 100% it has not been revealed from the medical investigation. This happened because of the COVID-19. Still the investigations are going on. So while the investigations are going on, if you put these type of posts, what will happen? People get unnecessary fear, because we are trying to government must try to minimize actually spreading of this one. But this type of misinformation, how they gather, so you have to be at least put the source from where you got it. But I have seen no source they put it. So this is where we have to see whether who take the responsibility. Now once again, when you come to why the police arrest or police actually try to restrict these things, because of cases they may have done the investigation. But on the other hand, they also must be very careful when these restriction must put. But even you know, these not only Facebook, other social media also there. Then you have to restrict like Cuba, Vietnam or China. But we are a democratic country. You can't actually enforce these type. You can't enforce that.
Doctor, on that same front, we have constantly seen either senior members of governments that have come and gone, many governments that have come and gone, certain senior officials of the state also, not only on Facebook, but coming at media briefings, making negligent statements on maybe false cures for COVID-19. So if that sort of standard is expected from a netizen on Facebook, a member of social media, shouldn't senior government officials, senior government ministers be held to the same standard? Shouldn't the standard, be same for people at the bottom and on top?
Excellent question. I'll give some example of Brazil. Now in Brazil, what happened? One minister, when he was actually expressing his views, it was negligent and he was removed from the post. Not only Brazil, it happened in Mexico, it happened in Netherlands, many countries. All the government officers and the politicians, they are not above the law. If they take a statement, if they make a statement, or even if they are interfering, the law must be actually equally work. So therefore there is no difference between the general public and the even a high ranked politician. They are all in the same rank. Because Article 12(1) of the Constitution say that. But there may be sometimes of priority or advantages given to them. But even if they make these type of statement, now look here, you may have seen one parliamentary member, he had given a statement, practically this lockdown or even the travel restrictions, it is absolutely not practical. One of the members said. So likewise, they are spreading certain type of things. So then the cabinet, he is not a cabinet member, but he is a member of parliament or a state minister. When they are spreading these type of information, they also must take the responsibility. So likewise, that's why cabinet also must be, monitored by the President Secretariat, or even they must give certain information which are not contradicted. If these statements are contradicted, public get confused. So my main argument, there must be a policy or policy framework. That's why you said Ministry of Health, they have given the guideline. According to the guideline, you can go. But please remember, this pandemic is a very, very serious and dangerous situation. Most of the countries, when they are giving these type of misinformation, it has been stripped double than that. So we have to control this situation. But still, on the other side, the government must respect people's freedom of expression, as well as freedom of speech. This is where when you are going to take legal action also, it's very hard, because FB, they will say we are only a platform. So when they are making the statement, that's why we can report. Even I think this defamatory statement also, there is
there is an option.
Yeah, there is an option. Report. You can go it. Hate speech also you have. Other than that, reasonably, if someone is criticizing, we have to accept that. We should not go against that. But if these information are misinformation or false information, if we are making it, so there must be some type of remedy for those who are suffering. It can be the government sometimes.
Doctor, we've come to a very interesting point in our conversation, but we'll have to cross over to this short commercial break. We will continue on the other side. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Newsline live.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Welcome back. You're with Newsline Live. We're in discussion with Dr. Prathiba Mahanamahewa, the rector of Sri Pali campus at the University of Colombo. Doctor, we were speaking about the travel restrictions that were imposed and how certain members of the general public haven't abided by these restrictions, and also the freedom of speech in Sri Lanka. Given your multifaceted personality, we can discuss an array of topics, of course, on today's show. I'd like to draw your attention towards the plight of students in Sri Lanka, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been almost a year and a half since the pandemic hit properly. I believe it began in March last year when the travel restrictions came into play and children really couldn't go to school. Being a person on the inside of universities, knowing the inside workings, how bad is the situation as far as the education, tertiary education goes?
Before that, I like to just give some examples from Jamaica, because I was the dean at that time last year. So what we have done, the Jamaican government fully supported all the students to get the internet facilities, as well as they paid for certain type of, they distributed cards to get that Wi-Fi. So when the Wi-Fi is actually working, they were doing online classes. But online classes and the practical classes, it's very hard. Theoretical classes you can conduct by Zoom, but anyway, there is no option. For that, they have the learning management system, and you upload your, sometimes, not the lab testing, other practicals. But when you come to Sri Lanka, the biggest issue, the Wi-Fi. Whether the students are actually access to Wi-Fi with the lockdown, they have to go to certain places, and whether they have all the modern equipments. But the government and the university in Sri Lanka, they have provided much. But still there can be problem, because we have to see the grassroots level, not only in the Colombo city wise. You can't see in Ampara, because they go to sometimes trees and they climb the trees and get that signal. Those issues are there. So how to manage? Even sometimes we are asking from the students what type of, they need the examination as early as possible and to get rid of this degree and go for a job. But the issue is not that, when the practical lessons are coming. So that's why these practical science, even medicine and other engineering, those who are doing in the labs, there must be some alternatives. So when you are doing the alternative things, now see the court cases, most of the court cases now you can file the petitions, answers online, as well as first time I have seen Zoom and other type of facilities are using by the judges, and even telemedicine is happening. So certain things you must provide the infrastructure facilities. So Ministry of Education, they may be doing their best, but still there are certain other type of access for these type of really Wi-Fi, or even the other type of access for the LMS, or even when they are contacting with the lecturer, whether they have some facility. Now I am also doing all these lectures. I am doing Faculty of Law some lectures. We do online, but sometimes Colombo students can get that, but if we have to be more concerned about the outside the city. And metropolitan areas, all right, but if you go to suburbs, whether they are connected. So government must actually try to give some subsidiaries or even some free internet access, because they have to buy the data. Those are some of the issues. But I think a productive quality student, quality graduate, we cannot come up with the Zoom system, because on-site lectures, on-site practicals are the most important thing. But with this situation, there is no option for the whole world. Even in Caribbean countries, I have seen this. But anyway, this is where we have to find out some solutions, set up the infrastructure facilities, give access to all type of Wi-Fi and other type of situation, and the signals. So if not setting up this, some students may suffer.
Well, Doctor, we have received some questions from our viewers, and one question reads, shouldn't we take action against a certain minister for making incorrect statements on the COVID-19 vaccination situation, on how vaccines can be provided and all that? I believe you answered that question, Doctor, when you said that equal action should be taken against everyone.
Now I think there are some Supreme Court cases also, some general public
itself has
filed. They have going filed some cases, so I'm not going to talk about that. Yes, even a minister, when taking a misinformation, it must be properly monitored by Prime Minister's office and the President's office. So they must be really given the warning, not only the warning, at least some countries they take them to court and put a fine for them. But Sri Lanka, still I have not seen that. Even they will lose their ministerialship. So why they are making this misinformation? Maybe for their benefit, but even for their benefit, you know what happened. I am openly speaking. Now the lockdown area near Colombo, one minister said openly, yes, I the one who asked to open, but finally they didn't go with the doctor's advice. So here, every minister bound by the health regulation, you should not interfere the health of the people, otherwise it will be a big damage for the country. So my argument, basically I am telling one thing, everyone must follow the expert medical opinion and their guidelines. If you are trying to take the advantages from these type of things, even maybe the opposition members, even maybe the government members, this may be you are playing with people's life.
Doctor, some of these questions that we're receiving, we're circling back to the initial points that we spoke of, how law can really assist us and how better should it be enforced. We've received a question from a viewer saying, how does the government expect us to buy groceries to last for 6 days in this inclement weather without the help of a vehicle? Now my question to you really is, Doctor, there is a requirement, of course, for the general public to understand the situation in the country and support the government. Vice versa, there is a responsibility on the part of the government to understand the situation of the general public. This is when we speak about the theory of social contract and how the people place their trust in the government and the government takes care of the people. Where really is the mismatch here, and how can this be remedied in Sri Lanka?
The government may have thought, I may be wrong, the government may have thought if people using vehicles, it can be another way. People are gathering, and that's why they said you can go only one person from one family and also with the identity card number. Let's forget about that. Now the main issue, practically it is very hard for a person because you need at least a three-wheeler, or at least you need a vehicle to go there. So this must be really monitored by the divisional secretary, Grama Sevaka divisions, whether everyone access a very close place shop or a retail shop or a wholesale or CW is situated. But other than that, my argument, you should allow them to go and not to park in the car park or any other place. But even in Colombo, I have seen most of the time. But when the police is there, I don't want to make the supermarket names, police is there, but they have actually sent the vehicles back. But still, how you can carry all these things? Practically, it is very hard. So the government must look with the support of the divisional secretary, GA, and other forces are there. At least give them the vehicle distribution, not the vehicle distribution, all these food and other things, distribution channels you have to make it. So the planning is very, very important. That's why we were asking, that is a very important thing, because once again the country lockdown opens on the 31st. So the 31st, I think they may go for an alternative. They have to go for an alternative one. And with regard to that, health is first today. rather than the country health is first. So health is first. With that concept, I think you must see another way. So that's why we need a discussion of that. We need some negotiation, as you said, the social contract theory. You must ask from the civil society, you must take the opinion of the leaders of the country and put something. Now today what's happening, rather than dividing into two sides, the parliament 225 members, you must come for a one stand and first forget about your politics. You must come for a one stand and save the people, save the country. You also must be very responsible way you have to act. For that, even I don't know, these MPs are going for their
vehicles.
Vehicles. So that is also another thing. But they must go and meet their, this is not I am telling. So this is not from the MPs in the parliament, but even municipality council member, Pradesh Sabha member, are they actually looking and what type of facilities people need, what type of goods and services they need. So this channel must be properly made. So that's why we have certain type of committees appointed by the government. So that report they can take, and if anything happen and any weaknesses or gaps happen, you have to fulfill that immediate. Even in the 4 days, you can't go out and delivery service should be given. Otherwise, this can be one side economy, one side the health. So how to balance that?
And Sri Lanka is known to have in excess of public representatives. Recently, the local government election, the number of representatives were almost doubled to about 8,000 members. So there is.
I like to add another thing. Unfortunately, we don't have provincial councils. Only the governor is there. So if the provincial councils, members were there, this channel may go up. So postponing the provincial council election.
Well, Doctor, I believe there are arguments on the other side of that as well, and that's
both sides there. But I am telling,
I understand,
serve
Doctor.
the people.
That's a different discussion in its.
I am just mentioned.
I understand, Doctor, but unfortunately, we have come to an end to our discussion here on Newsline Live for tonight. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us on our show and speaking about a broad range of matters, of course, on this show. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there, and of course, during these trying times, we would continue to remind you that at the end of the day, the responsibility is also in the hands of the general public. Abiding by the government regulations is not only mandated by law, but is also a responsibility of every citizen of Sri Lanka, and it is imperative that we do abide by these regulations and follow the guidelines so that we will be protected, our loved ones will be protected, and the country will be protected as a whole. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.